there's gotta be something good to watch on here. Let's see.
You ever just feel like that your life is just part of an intro that you have no control over? That is invalid argument, Mecha Man. Unfortunately for you, I plan to shit on...
Oh, I wonder what this could be. It's more colorful than what else is on.
I don't get requests often. I mean, actually, to be perfectly honest, I don't really get requests at all. To be fair, one of my most popular videos of all time is a request, and it's a shit post. So, what are you gonna do? So, like I said before, I don't get requests. This thing doesn't really happen all that often, but if I ever do get a request, I will go through with it. I'm completely fine with it. But this one in particular, from Koro down there in the comments of my latest video, asked me to do a tutorial on the voice for Squiliam Fancy Son, which is a voice I still do nowadays. And, I am not big on tutorial content, because usually when I do a voice, I kind of just wing it. I kind of just fling it and see what happens. I hope for the best and hope that I do it well. But this person was pulling back content that I did a very long time ago. Which means that they've genuinely seen some of my content beforehand, at least. And, you know, that would genuinely warrant some attention on my end. So, just for you, specifically, I don't know if I'll do tutorials for any other voices, but for you specifically, Koro, I'd be happy to. Now, let's see. There is two fundamental basics that I follow whenever I do the Squiliam Fancy Son voice. To be perfectly honest, I didn't even know that these basics existed whenever I first started making this video. In fact, whenever I first thought of the concepts of this video, it was sort of hard to actually think about what I would actually say, because, well, it's kind of hard to explain how one does a voice, for me, specifically. But I feel like a good example to pull from when talking about the Squiliam Fancy Son voice, I gotta get it out of the way, hold on, I gotta warm up a bit, just... I hear you're working the cash register now. There is a place, a lovely little part of the esophagus, the throat. No, that sounds weird, but hear me out here. There is, I'll put a little diagram here. This little area of your throat is what I harken back to whenever I try to do a Squiliam Fancy Son voice. I feel like I condense it down. I like scrunch it up a bit and hold it back whenever I do the voice. And it may sound difficult, but it's actually something that a lot of people have done before. It's a lot of people have done before, a lot of people can do. But to practice it, what you gotta do firsthand, you can't outright just do the Squiliam voice outright. You have to start it up. You have to have like a calling sound, or a calling word, or a calling sentence, usually, whenever you want to start doing the Squiliam voice. For me, anyways. I'm sure like the actual like Squidward voice actor could be like, I'm starting with, I'm ready, and all that, and he's ready. But there is usually a noise that I do before getting into the voice, and it's which is a very common sound used by Minecraft villagers. So I would advise weirdly enough, I would advise practicing making villager noises until you feel comfortable being able to say words with that villager mumble scrunched down within your throat. So it would start out like, and then eventually you get to, ho, hey, hello there, how are you today? And then you can start saying actual words. Typically, when doing a Squidward impression, everybody has a lower everybody goes for a lower vocal range when doing his voice because he's genuinely upset most of the time. He's like, I hate the world, I'm Squidward, which ironically is with the same tone of the villagers from Minecraft, but with Squiliam specifically. You need to stay in that same tone, but you gotta say stuff a bit more upbeat. When it's like you start off with sadness, obviously, because everybody does. It's, I'm Squidward, I hate the world, and then it gets higher and higher, and then eventually, I'm Squiliam. Hi there, how are you today? Lovely weather we're having. But either way, if you either do a Squidward voice or a Squilliam voice, his vocal cords are compressed, squished down. You gotta keep your vocal cords, well, not physically crush them. Don't take your fingers to your throat and keep them there. I would suggest not letting a lot of air out whenever you speak, because his voice is, there's a weird thing I notice whenever doing either Squidward or Squilliam's voice. Oddly enough, whenever you do either of their voices, I've noticed that the back of my tongue goes, as weird as it sounds, backwards into my throat a bit. Whenever I practice impressions of them, it's like say you're doing a normal voice, you're like and then as you move the tongue a bit backwards, you slowly get into an which is something I just now noticed while recording this. Isn't that something crazy? I see a lot of mistakes that people do whenever they do either Squidward or Squilliam's voice, and that's holding their nose for some reason.
Like, don't get me wrong, holding the nose is fine and all,
But you do need your nose to do the voice correctly. You need your voice opened, and air has to be coming out of the nose. And I feel like the nose is also sort of a key component when it comes to doing the voice. I've noticed that whenever I do Squidward or Squilliam's voice, I feel a lot of vibrations in the nose area specifically. I'm not 100% an expert when it comes to voice acting, I will say. I do voices for fun and hopefully in the future for a living, but I'm not the most professional man in the world. But I will say I gave it my best shot giving you a tutorial, and I hope any of what I said was at all useful. And I did love your comment. I love that you wrote to me, and thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to make this video in the first place. Anyway, that's me, the Laser Hammer. Thank you so much for your time here today, my friends. Catch you in the next one.